I opened my eyes to a sharp, freezing wind biting against my armor. For a moment, I thought I was on some forgotten battlefield of my own galaxy. But the air felt different, colder, wilder, filled with a kind of magic that did not belong to the warp. When I reached out with my mind, I felt nothing. No whispers, no psychic trails, no Astronomicon calling me home. The silence was so complete that it almost pressed against my thoughts. For the first time in a very long age, I stood completely alone. I rose to my feet, scanning the broken mountains around me. The land looked scarred, as if gods had torn it apart with their own hands. Snow drifted through the air in heavy flakes, and the ground cracked under my steps. Even without psychic sight, I could feel raw divine energy moving beneath the world like a restless beast. This place had known battles between beings of incredible power, and the echo of those clashes still lived in the soil. As I walked forward, I sensed movement long before I saw it. Figures crawled from the shadows, their bodies twisted and lifeless, yet driven by a strange force. Draugr, undead warriors bound by old magic. They rushed at me with empty eyes and rusty weapons raised high. I did not fear them. Instead, I felt curiosity. I watched the way their energy flickered, the way the magic held their limbs together. When they struck, I answered with my own strength, sending them crashing into the ice. Their bodies broke easily, but the magic that animated them clung to the air like smoke. I continued onward, only to cross paths with larger creature trolls with pale stone skin and heavy breaths that shook the ground. Their presence reminded me of beasts from ancient Terra's myths, though these were far more real and far more aggressive. When one charged, I braced myself and let its massive fist slide off my armor. With a single blow, I dropped the creature, watching as its body sank into the snow with a deep groan. Even in its fall, I felt the land react, almost as if the world itself had emotions. The more I traveled, the more I understood that this realm was shaped by the moods of its gods. Their power was not distant or hidden, it lived in every rock, every gust of wind, every creature wandering the wilderness. These gods did not sit on golden thrones. They walked, fought, hated, and loved openly. Their presence made the world unstable, beautiful, and dangerous all at once. As I moved deeper into the frozen valley, I asked myself what my place should be here. Was I meant to rule, to guide, or simply to watch this world without interfering? My past choices weighed heavily on me, and I felt the old conflicts stirring again. Then the ground trembled beneath my feet. Snow rolled down the slopes. Heavy footsteps approached, steady and powerful. Whatever was coming was no beast, no mindless creature. It felt like a warrior one worth meeting. I stood still and waited, ready for whatever this new world intended to show me. Kratos stepped into view with the same force as a storm. His presence hit me before his voice ever could. Broad shoulders, skin marked by scars that told stories of battles far older than this realm, and eyes that burned with a quiet rage he had learned to cage. For a moment, I simply observed him. There was something familiar about the way he carried himself, the controlled violence, the heavy grief, the readiness to strike without hesitation. This was not a man shaped by war. This was a man refined by it. At his side stood a young boy with a bow in hand. Atreus looked at me with open curiosity, the kind that could not be hidden no matter how hard one tried. His spirit felt bright and restless, like a spark waiting for the right wind to turn into flame. I sensed potential in him, power still young but undeniable. He reminded me of children I had trained long ago, those who tried to understand the galaxy before understanding themselves. Kratos lifted his axe slightly, watching me with the focus of a predator studying an unknown threat. I raised no weapon. I simply stood tall and met his stare. His tension rolled off him like heat from a forge. But underneath it was something else, instinct guiding him to protect the boy behind him. "I come from a distant place," I told him, keeping my voice steady and open. "I mean neither of you harm." Atreus took a half step forward, eager. "Your armor. I've never seen anything like it, and your energy feels different." "It's almost boy," Kratos warned, and the single word carried the weight of a command that could stop armies. Atreus immediately fell silent. His eyes stayed fixed on me. I felt no hostility from him, only fascination. I explained myself in the simplest terms I could. "I protect my people. I guide them. I am far from home, but my purpose remains the same." Kratos didn't answer, but he did lower his axe slightly. In his silence, I felt a question forming. "Can I trust you?" Before any of us could continue, the air shifted. A low growl echoed through the trees. Creatures crawled out from the snow, their bodies twisted with ancient magic. Draugr again, but more numerous, more aggressive. Kratos stepped forward instantly, axe ready. Atreus readied an arrow with surprising confidence. I felt the energy of this world pulling at me, reshaping itself around my presence. When the Draugr charged, I moved without thought. My power surged outward, not through the warp, but through something different, something raw. The magic here resisted me at first, then bent under my will. I shattered the first attackers and pushed through the rest with strength that made the ground crack. Kratos fought like a force of nature, every swing exact and brutal. Atreus supported him with arrows that hummed through the cold air. For a moment, we fought not as strangers, but as warriors, bound by necessity. When the last creature fell, Kratos looked at me again. This time, his distrust had shifted. He understood I had stood with him, not against him. His silence now felt like acceptance. Atreus finally spoke again, breathless. "Maybe we should travel together. At least for a while." Kratos did not object as we traveled deeper through the cold forests and quiet valleys. I began to feel eyes watching us from places I could not see. Not mortal eyes, those meant little to me, but the sharp, calculating gaze of beings who believed themselves rulers of this realm. Small black shapes flashed between branches, wings cutting the air with silent precision. Odin's ravens. They circled above us, studying every step I took. Their presence was meant to intimidate, to remind me that nothing in this world escaped the All-Father's sight. Instead, they only confirmed what I already knew. The gods here had felt my arrival, and they were afraid to face me directly. Strange threads brushed against my mind, thin as spider silk but strong with intent. Fate in this world tried to wrap itself around me, to judge me, to pull me into a story already written. I felt it attempt to measure me, to assign a place to me. I pushed back, and the thread snapped. Nothing bound me. Nothing ever had. Even the rules of this land bent rather than break me. Atreus walked beside me, glancing up occasionally at the ravens above. "Does destiny mean anything where you come from?" he asked, voice honest and curious. "Only to those who fear making their own choices," I answered. "Fate is a chain that the weak wear willingly." He considered my words carefully. Kratos gave a small grunt, not disagreement, not approval, but recognition. He understood the weight of rejecting destiny better than most. The air shifted suddenly, carrying a blast of cold that did not belong to the weather. Footsteps approached with deliberate confidence. A tall figure emerged, wearing arrogance like armor. Baldur, a god with no fear of pain because he could not feel it. A man convinced of his own immortality. He looked at me with a smile that held no warmth, only challenge. "So you're the one causing all this trouble," he said, circling me as if measuring a prize beast. "Let's see what you really are." He struck first, fast and wild. His fists slammed into me with strength that would have crushed mountains. I felt the force, but it did not move me. He blinked, surprised for the first time in centuries. I answered with a single blow that threw him across the clearing. He crashed through a tree and rose again, laughing not in joy, but in disbelief. He attacked again and again, his rage growing each time I refused to fall. I watched him carefully, every movement, every mistake, every desperate attempt to prove his superiority. He expected fear, expected pain, expected me to break. Instead, I stepped forward, caught his arm, and pinned him to the ground with one hand. "I do not follow your world's rules," I told him. He struggled, then vanished into the distance with a frustrated snarl. His retreat sent a shock through the entire pantheon. I felt Odin's attention sharpen, his interest becoming something darker. He now knew I could not be controlled. As we continued walking, Kratos studied me more closely. His questions were not spoken, but I felt them questions about power, about purpose, about the nature of gods who choose to guide rather than dominate. Atreus stayed near me, absorbing every lesson without me needing to speak. His potential grew brighter each day, not because of my power, but because he searched for his own path with courage. I walked beside them, not as a ruler, but as someone determined to prevent these two from repeating the tragedies that once consumed my own sons. Odin's fear reached me long before his voice or his messengers did. It moved through the realms like a cold shadow crawling across the edges of my mind. Every step I took with Kratos and Atreus tightened the tension in the air. The ravens multiplied. The wind shifted with unnatural purpose. Even the trees seemed to pull away from me as if they knew a great conflict was forming.